What is up, Prideful Nerds? My name is Kyle, and we are here with our second review, and this review is going to be on Anima Memories. I do apologize. I was supposed to be getting this review out a lot sooner, but as some of you may know, I actually have had some technical issues with the game before a patch came in, and now it seems to be working for me. So I am delayed as far as this goes, but if any of you are curious, I just went ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put this review up just to see what you guys think. If you guys have been watching my Anima Memories series, you guys have already known that I do have some opinions on the game that I've already talked about, that I think the game is kind of weird and things like that. Now, though I say the game is weird, don't think that I think the game sucks by any means. I actually overall enjoy the game, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why. Before I get into that, I want to go ahead and give you some backstory as far as the game goes. The game itself has been made by Kai Nesbitt. I don't know if I got that, if I nailed the name right or not. Now, the game company that designed this was actually just something called the Anima Project, which was just formed by 3 people, which is astonishing, really. So the people who actually made this game, it was actually a very small team of people who actually developed this game. And this game is actually based off the Anima Beyond Fantasy, which is an RPG book series. And they decided it was popular enough for them to actually make it into a full-fledged game. Now, I personally have never read these books. I actually just found out about that a little while ago. But this game is basically based off of the book series. Now, another thing I actually want to talk about is the more or less the company itself. It was actually published by Badland Indie, which has published another few indie games. So this was done at a small company level. This was not developed by a large company, which at first I thought it was. And when I now look at this, playing the game and everything, I can actually appreciate it much more. I appreciated the game itself. I think it has excellent playability. I think the moves and the action, honestly, to me, it seems a lot like Devil May Cry. When I first started the game, the first thing I thought of was a Devil May Cry knockoff. It was going to be nothing more than that. It was just going to be a Devil May Cry knockoff. I do think that this game has a lot of Devil May Cry-ish tendencies to it, but I believe it's kind of independent on its own. I think the gameplay is very similar, but hey, you know what? That's okay. If there are games that have Devil May Cry playstyle, then that's fine. As long as the game itself is unique, I don't care if the playstyle is similar. To me, the game needs to have a few elements. It needs to have excellent playability, it needs to have smooth engines, and it needs to have a good story. If it doesn't have a decent story, it's very hard to keep me going. I need to have a story for me to kind of follow. I'm not going to just... Now, there are a few games that have the exception to this that I play that a lot of, but, you know, this game, to me, as far as story goes, I think the story for this is actually rather crap. I personally do not care for the storyline much. Now, a thing about it that could be causing this is as many of you know, when you watch the cutscenes are in standstill. Everybody's frozen into these poses, and people are talking, and to me, I just can't take it seriously. It's just too weird. It's too out there. Now, given that this game, the people who made this game, it was a very small company, and they had probably a very, very limited budget, they probably had to do it that way in order to get the story across, and for that I understand. I still can't take the story seriously, though, in the end. I'm sorry, I can't. Now, does that mean that this game is not good? No, because it actually makes up, a lot of it is made up with the way the game is played, and the gameplay is just, personally, I think it's really, really good. This is going to be one of those few games that are, for me, though the storyline is just weird and it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, to me, I can appreciate it just simply from the gameplay. I think the graphics are actually gorgeous. I think the graphics are really good. To me, it reminds me of Nier, and I believe I said that when I was playing the game. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I did in the very first thing. I thought it reminded me a lot of Nier. And if you guys haven't played Nier, please play it. It really is a story. It is a game to behold. It really is. And, it's about 30 hours to beat the game, but believe me, it is worth every minute. You will love the entire thing. It is a fantastic game. Speaking of game time, this game has about 20 hours of playtime. Now, there are some... I looked up a few reviews and stats on the game, seeing what other people were saying, kind of seeing if people kind of had the same kind of opinions that I did, and by reading about 5 or 6 of them, I have come to the conclusion that most people have the same opinions that I do. The storyline's kind of weird, the story kind of falls flat, but at the same time, the graphics, the gameplay, and the puzzles keep people entertained, and I completely agree with this. The puzzles are very 90s. They're very 90s. To me, they're very old. It kind of reminds me of playing Zelda, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, where you have these weird puzzles, you're constantly running around the dungeons, there really is no clear instructions, you just kind of got to figure it out, and there's the moving blocks that float around for no particular reason, you got to jump on them, and you're going to fall off of blocks about 15-20 times, and each time you do, you lose a little bit of health. This game has that, and it's just it's awesome because really it just screams old style gaming. This was back when gaming was a real challenge, and there's no cutscenes for you to figure it out, you got to just do it on your own. And to me, I think this is just a really good ode to those old game styles, and to me, it's a breath of fresh air. It really is, because I get to play an old style game in kind of a newish era of graphics. Now, back to playtime, because I wanted to get the puzzle thing out of the way. I knew I was going to forget if I didn't mention that early on. The gameplay, after reading a few of them, some people said it's 15 hours, other people say it's 20 hours. I don't know if there are any side quests. I haven't met any yet. I've only played about 3 hours of it so far, and after playing about 3 hours, I feel like I have a good enough opinion of the game and the game style and the way the world is laid out, that I have a good opinion on how the game goes. Now, as far as replayability, if you like these type of hack and slash games with Devil May Cry-ish Nair graphics, very anime-like, I believe you would replay this game. I seriously think you would. Would I personally? I do like Devil May Cry. I like Nair. I like anime, but at the same time, I don't know if I would replay this game or not. Just personally because of the story. The story just doesn't grasp me enough to keep me interested to play it a second time. I think it's just fun to do the hack and slash and things like that. The game claims that it's open world. I believe this is one of those situations where I believe parts of the game are semi-open world. I have run around some grasslands and stuff, and it's not exactly open world. I can't just run anywhere. It doesn't have the ability to where you can really run around freely like what a real open world should do. So I'm going to kind of call BS on that. I know somebody in the comments is going to go, well, if there's like an open level where you can run around most of the map, then that's technically open world. No, it's not. Open world means that you can run around an entire map. There's going to be no loading screens. There's going to be no load time. There's not going to be any invisible walls preventing you from going to other parts of the map. And this game has those things. So technically, it's not open world. It's not a sandbox either. If anybody is wondering, it's not a sandbox or anything. It's not like you're going to be able to do everything and things like that. It's just really nowadays companies can say open world when they are thinking there's a wide map. There's like one level out of the entire game that has a very wide map and you can run around a lot of it, and they're like, boom, open world. And it's like, no, that's not what open world is. Now, as far as the gameplay, I'm going to get a little more into the gameplay. The gameplay, like I said, it's a lot like Devil May Cry. There's hack and slash, you have like special moves and special abilities, but there is a uniqueness to this that really separates itself from Devil May Cry. While Devil May Cry does have some semi-customization to how your abilities and stuff go, this has a full-on tech tree that you're able to pick different moves, and when you pick different moves, You are only having a limited set of skill points. So if you pick, you can't just get all the abilities. You have to gain some and you'll lose some. That's kind of how it works. Another thing too, like Devil May Cry, there are different weapons and things like this. The thing that disappointed me though is that you get these like swords and everything that just sound epic, like Gladius or something like that, and then when you get them, you don't get the weapon. It just gives you the abilities that the weapon would have. You're still using your weapon. The girl has a book and the guy has like some claws and things like that. And I'm going to get to this player switching in a minute. But it's really unique that you have these customization skills. Obviously, back in the 90s, I'm kind of going back because I think this game has a lot of old 90s RPG-like tendencies to it that really, like I said, it allows players who have been playing games for a long time to kind of relive that old game feel. Obviously, back then we didn't have tech trees, so that's kind of like a new game era kind of thing mixed with old, and it's really good. They've blended the best of old era games and new era games and put them together, and that's kind of what it is. Unfortunately, it lacks a story. If it had a really good story, I would give this thing like Game of the Year or something. I mean, that'd be amazing. But it doesn't have that. So anyway, the dual characters. This is where the game, for me, just takes the weirdest turn of all. Well, basically what happens is that when you do a player change, the girl turns into a guy, and the guy is the book. Okay, and I'm not gonna spoil the story or anything like that. I'm just gonna tell you kind of flat out because you figured this thing out literally in like 2 minutes of the game. So really, I'm not spoiling anything for you. So the girl basically has a sex change when you basically turn into the guy every single time. Now, out of all the characters, the guy is my favorite. This guy is sly, he's funny, he makes pervert jokes like every 15 minutes, just like an anime, basically. The guy's making pervert jokes every 5 seconds, so, that that kind of gives the anime goofiness to the game, which I love. And even though it's weird, but at the same time it's funny. But as far as the change goes, the guy has his own set of abilities, the girl has her own set of abilities, so when you're fighting certain enemies, sometimes the guy's better against them. Usually I find, though, that the girl is usually better in almost every situation. So the guy, I have noticed, has a little bit more health in the beginning, and he has a little bit more armor, even though he doesn't have a shirt, so that doesn't make sense, but whatever. He is more kind of like a tankish kind of ability. Now, a thing I noticed that is really cool is that they have their own unique health bars. So if the girl is about to die, let's say the girl's about to die and you switch to the guy actually is going to have full health. And so if you're about to die, you can quickly switch over to the guy to redeem yourself a little bit. I didn't realize this first in the first boss fight, but I did realize it later on. And that's another thing I want to get into in the boss fights. The boss fights are difficult. They really are. This game is difficult. The lowest setting, and actually the only there's 2 settings. There's normal and hard. So there's no easy mode in this whatsoever. So, prepare to be challenged. The normal difficulty so far I've noticed is not too bad. But where you're going to be struggling with is the puzzles. The puzzles are very difficult. And I'm not saying they're too difficult or anything like that. Like I said, this is like a blast to the past 90s game where really like Zelda, like there were no instructions. You just get these items and things like that, and you're saying you need to unlock the next room, and you're not told how to do it. You just kind of got to figure it out for yourself. And I remember back then playing Zelda when I was stuck in like the Ice Temple or the Fire Temple, figuring out for like hours. We didn't really have access to the internet, and even when we did have access to the internet, there wasn't game there wasn't game strategy guides or things like that. When you get the game, it usually took about a year before the strategy guide came out, so you gotta kind of figure it out for yourself. So I remember hours spending trying to figure these things out, and they don't explain it to you, and neither does this game. And that's a really cool thing that I like about this game. And I've seen on some of the Steam things, they're like, oh, the puzzles are too hard. It's like, use your brain, dude, figure it out. So, and if you get stuck, obviously there's going to be YouTube videos of people showing you how to do it. I'm trying not to do that. I'm actually stuck in a part right now in the game, and if you watch my videos, you'll know that. I'm basically trying to figure things out, but I don't want to look up the game strategies or anything like that. I really want to figure this out for myself. Now, I do want to go over one more thing, and that's the atmosphere of the game, the graphics. And then I'm going to kind of end out a little bit talking a little bit more about the story and why it's disappointing me. And then I'm going to give it its ranking. Okay, and we're going to leave it at that. So as far as the atmosphere, once again, I think the game is gorgeous. I really do. I think the game itself it's just very unique. I don't know if you guys ever played Devil May Cry, the third one, where he's locked in the Devil's Tower. You know, and you're running through the Devil's Tower, and you're running around, and you know, you see the windows, and they have the cool sun shafts and everything. And then when you're outside, you see this menacing tower that's like 3 miles high, and it just looks intimidating. This game really looks like that. The grasslands kind of remind me, if you guys have ever played Terra, there are just like these monoliths and floating things and bright looking stars and things like that. I don't know if you, like I said, if you ever played Terra and you run around the grasslands or anything like that, Terra the MMO, they have these really cool objects. It makes you really feel like you're in this fantasy world, and it just really gives off that vibe. And you know, the game itself, like I said, the graphics are gorgeous. They have this Nair twist. You've got like these Devil May Cry kind of demonic architecture. You've got this creepy mansion that looks like something that came out of Craven Manor. And you've got, you know, you've got the grasslands and everything that just really give off this anime-ish Final Fantasy Terra-like vibe, and it's just amazing. And you're constantly changing scenery. When you go into these worlds, every world is just so different from the other one. It just keeps you going. There's also some images that I saw that kind of have this Aztec look. I mean, like, you're constantly changing zones, and that's really fun because it keeps you interested. It's not the same every single time when you go into a new level. It's constant. It's different change. And it just keeps you interested, and you want to find the new worlds because you want to see what they look like. So to be honest, that really has given the game a really good feel to it. Even though the story isn't great, everything else is just great enough to cover for that. And that's why I'm going to be giving this game worth a try. It's worth trying out. Now, let's go ahead and get to the story. Like I said, it's weird. It's disappointing. The stop motion where people are just frozen in time talking, I can't take this story seriously. The story isn't even that interesting. I'm not going to give the story out because, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything or anything like that. I just want to talk about the game, the play, my opinions on the story. Like I said, it's weird, and that just disappoints me. And I was struggling for a couple days, going, am I gonna give this game a passing grade, or am I gonna give it a failing grade? And you know, because the story itself, like I said, one of the 3 cores of gameplay for me, I have to have good gameplay. It has to have clean engine that isn't lagging, and it has to have a good in-depth story to keep me going. And the engine is good. Very, you know, the graphics aren't so intensive, so almost a good PCs, you can run it on ultra. If you have a really cruddy PC, you could probably still get away with it. Keep it at medium graphics, you'll be fine. The game runs incredibly smooth. There's not any real bugs that I've noticed yet, and like I said, after 3 hours you kind of think you'd find bugs. Now, given that this team was very small when they created this game, I'm expecting there will be some bugs. And like I said, I had like those weird crashing bugs and things like that. The game ran fine. It was just once I started running Bandicam, it started messing up. And then the patch came out. It was fixed. And they've run about 3 patches since I purchased the game. So I know they're working on it still. So they haven't left the game. It's not like some companies where they release a game and it's buggy, but they just say, yeah, whatever. You know, people will, you know, players will make mods for it, and it'll cover up our mistakes. And it's like, we're not, us the player, it's not our job to fix your game, dude. So they're fixing it. They're doing good with it. So overall, what is this game going to get as far as a grade for me? I am going to be giving it a C. Okay? I'm going to be giving it a C. That doesn't mean it's bad. What's keeping it from getting an A is the story. What's keeping it from a B, it's the story. I just don't think that this game is worth a B. I'm going to be giving it a C. Does it have replayability? You could be the judge of that. For me, honestly, I don't think it does. So I'm going to leave this game at 20 hours. Now, how much does the game cost? Well, the game costs $30, $29.99. I'm sorry, it's $30. So, with 20 hours at $30, it's $1.50 per hour to play. In my honest opinion, I think this game is worth buying. Okay, I believe it's worth to get because I'm going to give it a C plus. Okay, this is going to be one of those weird exceptions where there's minuses or pluses. I'm going to give this a C plus. Okay, like a 75 out of 100. Okay, so I think the gameplay, its style, and everything with it, it's worth getting in my opinion. I think for $1.50 an hour to play this game, if you're going to play it once, if you play it twice, then it's even less than that. I really think this is worth your purchase. Now, with the Steam summer sales and everything like that, I guarantee you the game's going to go on sale already if it hasn't been already. I'm not going to give you guys the sale price. I'm going to give it the original price of the game, which, like I said, is $30. It's not a AAA title price, which is awesome. With 20-hour gameplay, I would assume it was going to do that, but it didn't. It was $29.99, so really good deal for that. So, anyway, guys, Anima Memories is definitely worth checking out.